I'm loving the pop off.
I hate how you guys are smiling right now. I hate
when
it.
DJ Burns wins.
Shut up. I don't want to hear it right now. We're going into the fucking pod. All right. What up? Welcome back to the Pop Off Podcast, conversation show about the Elite Eight, college basketball, just a bunch of stupid horse shit, really. I'm Ralph Compiano. I'm your host. I'm joined by Mike Cerroni, my co-host, and Jack Turner's on today. Couldn't think of two faces I would rather not see right now than these two fucking guys.
Oh, man.
I mean, this sucks. This just fucking sucks. We're live reacting to Duke just lost to NC State. Purdue beat Tennessee. We can do Duke and NC State first because that's what people came for. So I have a bunch of thoughts on Duke, but go ahead, Cerroni. You won. You get to go first. Fuck you.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out where to start.
Well, figure the fuck out.
It all probably started about a month and a half ago. I'll say this. You know, we don't have to go through every unbelievable detail and every play, but the country knows now who DJ Burns is, that we're not a joke. This team is well built, played out of their mind. You can't even as a Duke fan, Ralph, you have to at least give him. He played. Did you see him? It's unbelievable.
I watched the whole game. Yeah, I saw him.
For his size. So, I mean, listen, I picked them to win it all. I got to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back here. But dude, clamps on defense when he's playing that way, and you got Horn
they
shooting
have clamps
the ball.
on defense. He does not have clamps on defense. They have clamps on defense. Yeah, continue.
He's got hands. He's got Jokic hands down there.
He's gonna plug the space. You got Horn shooting the three. You got McConnell running breaking the press. I'll give another shout out. There's a kid, Ben Middlebrooks off the bench, who I would say is the MVP because he got 4 fouls. He got flip fouled out within 4 or 5 minutes. Guy plays out of his mind, plays with heart. I mean, dude, there's just something dangerous when you, as a team, when you got nothing to lose. And for me, somehow to see this team, listen, I've been watching them for a month and a half. But for me to see them just, to win 5 or 6 games going into the tournament, to hit a game winner against Virginia, to even get a tournament bid, and then to go on this run and call it all and just be hammering money line. So I tallied up. So today I made $972 because I threw a fat bet on the money line bet, and then I doubled down at plus 370 at halftime because I fucking knew this team was going to make some second half adjustments because that's what we do.
Cerroni, who did you pick to win the tournament in all your brackets?
NC State.
I laughed out loud when I first saw that, and now it's guess who's laughing now? Now I'm just sitting here. We are not worthy. Unbelievable.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. This team is special, man. And I love it because this whole country knows who they are now. I mean, I was telling fucking DJ Burns literally went from. You have to understand what his life went from to. If he gets a first round exit, he's literally an accountant after he graduates. To now. He's going to get drafted or play overs or something. The whole world, people are tweeting about it. The whole world just saw that performance. As much as it sucks for, the Duke fans and everybody else, you got to give credit where it's due. The kid can play, man. It's just so entertaining. It's like watching the Ravens play. It's like watching Lamar play because he's not supposed to be that smooth and that have that much touch at that size.
The United
that's
States
all I'll
still
say.
remains
I already
a country of obesity. We just love to root on the fat guy. I'm not calling him fat, but when you see a big fella just huffing and puffing down the court, making moves, he's got the softest
having
touch.
Fun out there.
Not root for that. He's having fun. He's doing the Debo Samuels walk in, and they have the boom box going. It's great.
The whole team's having fun. And I'll tell you what, this isn't the time to stop betting. I already checked the line. I think Purdue, it's plus 340 is the biggest plus money line I've ever seen. I think it's 10 points. And NC State has given me no reason not to throw another hammer bet on them. I know Zach Edey. I know this. I know that. I don't care. I do not care. We are on fire right now. And I'm the type to die on my sword. So if we win or lose, I'll take my little cut of winnings and I'll pay off my fucking credit card bill. But I mean, holy fuck! I'll be honest with you. I didn't know, especially after the second half. I wasn't confident. I had high hope. But to come out and just blow the doors off them that second half and play that well, I mean, it's. I just can't believe I've been on them. It's just I have no idea. I'm just in awe. I feel like I fucking yeah.
As much fun as it is to watch NC State and to feel connected to the run through you and your belief and the amount of excitement you have going into each game, the steadfast commitment you have to the Wolfpack money line. It's equally.
I feel like when Jason and Travis Kelce started their podcast and they both won the Super Bowl that year. Pretty much the same thing. Pretty much
it's
the same
that
thing.
Special March run. You'll never forget it. As much fun as that is, it's equally as much fun to watch Duke lose. I hate Duke as much as I love to breathe. Man. It's always fun to watch this team. They play in a lot of big games because they're a good program, and it's fun to watch them lose in those big games. The last two games that really stick in my mind when I think about Duke, it's three games actually. It's Coach K's last game in Cameron Indoor Arena on Coach K floor. That was fun, losing to UNC. They had the whole celebration after they lost, bringing out all the players. Then they go to the Final Four that year. Hubert Davis just, clowns them. Caleb Love, RJ Barrett, run it up. Caleb Love was unbelievable that game. Tough exit for Duke there. And now they have to see another in-state rival in the Elite Eight. An opportunity for Shire to really cement himself as, a good coach, someone that's going to take this program forward and farther. And they choke again. The refs even had their opportunity, the second half where the ball is obviously out on Kyle Filipowski.
Yeah, that was the only call that went our way.
Ball. Yeah. That was just a classic opportunity where, Duke gets that one momentum changing call, but NC State, they weren't going to be phased. They weren't going to be denied. The second half was theirs. It's great.
Are you talking about the goaltend call?
No,
he's talking about when it hit off the
top of the backboard, and then they gave Keats the technical foul as well.
Yeah, that was weak. Yep.
Yeah. But that was just like a classic, one of those moments where, oh my God, it's like a movie. Like we've seen this before.
Yeah.
This
it's a 4-point swing.
And they held off. It was a lot of fun. God, it's just fun to watch Duke lose. It makes me so happy.
It's unbelievable.
Let me ask you why, actually, because I'm curious. Like, is it like do you hate this team as much as you've hated previous Duke teams? Is it you just see the Duke across the jersey?
This team, honestly, no. There's other Duke teams that I don't like. I don't think this team's particularly likable. I don't think Filipowski's particularly likable. He's a little whiny to me. He seems kind of like the classic Duke guy that had a lot handed to him growing up and seems just kind of pricklish and a little whiny. But no, it's not even this team. I think the fact that they were playing the in-state rival, NC State, the underdog. I love rooting for the underdogs in general. That's why I kind of have some pushback on Duke. I also tend to push back on teams that have, not to call you a fair weather fan, Ralph, but just like a fan base consisting of people that have no real ties or allegiances to that team. And they've been great for a long time. So like the Cowboys, don't like the Cowboys, don't like the Yankees, don't like the Lakers, don't like Duke. These are the teams I live to hate. And it's also the teams that a lot of times ESPN is going to run the most coverage on as well, because you get all their big fan bases, but then you get people like me as well that tune in because they love to hate them as well. So it wasn't necessarily this particular team. I actually thought this team overperformed in the tournament. It was a 100%. Little Mickey Mouse. But, they still beat a good Houston team. They showed some toughness there. There was the caveat with Shed out. But, it was good it's always just good to see them lose, especially to the in-state rival, which made this one a little extra fun. The Cinderella story, too, right?
Yeah, I've never even thought of them as a rival, which is weird. I never get up for NC State regular season games. But yeah, I'll give them credit, man. They're fucking good. They have a hub of an offense. It's really interesting watching them because we're seeing the big man kind of come back. We have this revelation again where it almost went extinct there for a few years, especially in the NBA, a little bit in college. But now the bigs are I have to be a guard, and Burns is that. I mean, he's basically just black thug Jokic right now. I mean, he's only 6'9", but he had 29 fucking points today. He's 13 of 19. They don't call back to the basket 5-second violations on him because I guess that's not a thing. So he can really just back down at his own will unless you draw a charge, which nobody wants to draw a charge on him. There's really nothing you can do. So just from like a pure frustration standpoint, I was really frustrated. Just like there's literally no stopping him in a man-to-man offense. So I wanted to say
great
like
vision off the double team too.
Yeah, I
Sure,
thought they were
when
going to
they-
start
yeah.
double teaming in the second half. I
don't think you
need
can
one more
double team
assist
him.
from this guy to hit a couple nice big old parlays, and Duke refused to double team the whole second half
See,
when it was pretty obvious that they couldn't stop him one-on-one. I thought that was an error
Yeah,
on
teams
Shire's
usually
part
do.
to not mix up the coverage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they should have just ran a zone at some point. And so like I'm really questioning John Shire right now. Like, how do you not adjust to that? Because I think that their man-to-man defense is really good in the first half, but then NC State came up with a game plan to combat that. I mean, we did a good job of helping the helper. We did do a good job of digging on him when he got down to the lane, but he just kept finishing, which is insane. Like, I mean, it's almost like it's destiny for every shot that he puts
I
up
don't know
to
how
go
they
the
go
fuck in.
It's
He just has a
insane.
really brilliant touch. But I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know. Like Shire's just really starting to piss me off because this is 2 years in a row now with this team. He's only been here for 2 years. He's my favorite college basketball player ever. I loved him as a player, but they're just pussies. Straight up. Like if you watch that game today, you're like every 50-50 ball is fucking NC State's. We didn't make any big time shot. Tyrese Proctor was 0 for 9 from the fucking field. Like what the hell? You're a lead guard on one of the best teams in the country all year, and you go over fucking 9 on the biggest stage. It doesn't make any sense. They shot 32% as a team. You're not going to win any games when you shoot that way. It's just fucking depressing, especially for a program that's like they pride themselves on their ability to shoot. Yeah, well, we were 5 for 20 from 3 today, and NC State was 3 for 13. They just got
Jesus.
whatever they wanted inside. I mean, they had the same free throw percentages as us essentially. We out rebounded them by 2, but that's because we missed more shots. I mean, it's just fucking. They suck. I mean, they overperformed
Yeah,
like
and I
their
don't even.
expectations, but yeah, they're brutal today.
Yeah, and I don't. I don't hate Duke at all. Like I have no hate towards Duke. It
I
just
do.
turned
I
out
hate
to.
Duke like a motherfucker right now. They fucking suck.
Yeah, it just turned out to be where they ran into the buzzsaw of the team I was rooting for. I mean, it is insane that we went 4 for 4 on the picks, Ralph, for UConn, Duke, NC State, and Purdue. And we called this. It was a Duke. We kind of saw it in the stars. We thought it'd be a blast for it to, be, our teams play each other. And yeah, like I said before, I wasn't really. I always have high hopes. I wasn't really confident. After seeing that game, I mean, I'm confident. I just don't see, and it's also something you almost want to be the higher seed, like in number wise in the bracket, because now again we go into Purdue. There's zero. I'm talking zero pressure on us. We're not supposed to be there. We already made it farther than we ever should. Fucking, and it's the same with Duke. You go in, the underdogs just have such a advantage. I think sometimes, especially in the tournament. You're just playing with nothing to lose. It's that simple. But yeah, hell of a game. Fucking, I can't believe they just pulled that off.
Yeah, over the last 21 years, 6 different 11 seeds have now reached the Final Four. So if you're looking for
it's always the
Cinderella,
11
that
seed.
11 line is kind of where it seems to be coming from a little bit, where they can make a run. Ralph, with this Shire team, not to be like old man yelling at cloud, but you look at Jared McCann. I actually like his game a lot, like on the floor. Obviously, off the floor, he's doing his TikToks and dances. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but at the same time, after a win, when you see like one player recording another player just dancing it up, do you think like there's a little bit of a like underlying, I don't want to call it a culture problem, but like Houston, they just beat Houston, so it's probably not a great example, but like I don't see those guys as like guys that are going to be just recording TikToks after the game. Like they just seem more like dogs that are, they live or die by like the wins. And these guys have just more going on than that. I don't know. It's a little bit old man yell at cloud, but just as a fan of the team, how does that make you feel? Or what's your reaction to that?
I think it's the difference in age. Houston has a bunch of juniors and seniors. They look like grown men when they're playing. All right, so we put in our alumni tournament this weekend, Turner, and we play against, it's our class, the class of 2016, going against the class of 2018, so Petey's grade. And right before we were about to tip off, I looked at our 5 guys that were starting. It was me, Stevie, Ted, Ski, and Bronte, and we're going against like Yasinich, McMurray, Marcus Miller, Anthony Capola,
Nobody
Jack
knows
Hurley.
that. A lot of people are just confused right now.
Nobody
a
knows
lot
those
of big
people
guys
is.
versus small. A lot of big guys versus small guys.
But not just big versus small, but we just looked like 10 years older than them. Like we all have beards, they all have clean faces. That's the difference between Houston and Duke. Like Duke has a bunch of guys that are on TikTok. They have like Instagram personalities. They're part of like a dinner. Like the guys that are coming from Houston have been weathered. They've been transferring. Everybody that started for Duke today, everybody that played for Duke today, other than Ryan Young, started at Duke. Right. So they've grown up in that culture where everything has been handed to them since the day they got on campus. They have the best Nike deal. They have the best facilities. Everything is the best, the best, the best. And they want them to be themselves and be their own personalities. And I totally believe in that. But at the same time, like there's not one dog in that locker room. If there is, it might be Jeremy Roach, I guess, because he's a senior. But like there's no Brandon Ingram. There's no Paolo Banchero. There's no Jason Tate. There's no RJ Barrett. Like RJ Barrett's a fucking psychotic competitor, and that's what actually pushed that team over the hump to like the Final Four. It wasn't Zion's freak athleticism; it's because RJ Barrett's a fucking demon, and that he was like I think arguably the best player.
And Cam Reddish finally played like 1-2 weeks of good basketball for the first time in his life during the tournament.
Exactly, but like this team, like I mean, our leader is literally Jared McCain, and he's on TikTok. And I'm not saying that we lost because he's on TikTok or anything like that, but it's like. Obviously, you look at DJ Burns and you're like, that motherfucker listens to T Grizzly the moment that he wakes up and the moment he goes to bed. Like, he's from the gutter. He's been through some shit. And that shows up, like, when there's this much adversity in a game. Like, it was a tie ball game for, like, most of the game. And then when shit gets really tight, these private school fuckers just fold. Like, straight up. Like, most of the guys that we get come from prep schools.
Yeah, it's adversity.
Like, Cooper Flagg will come from Montverde, but, like, when you watch Cooper Flagg play, we will not have that issue next year. Like he's a fucking dog. He's an animal. We needed somebody like that this year.
Yeah.
To Cerroni's point about go ahead.
I was gonna say with all the TikTok and the social media stuff, it all falls back to if you're winning, it's fine. It's sure you can do all of that, but you just have to win. If Patrick Mahomes was doing dances and this, he's winning. So it doesn't matter. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift podcast, he won. It doesn't matter. Now, if they get booted first round of the playoffs,
big problem.
But you go win the ring, just doesn't matter. So if you're going to be doing that stuff, you just have to be winning.
Totally fair. And to your point, like about just the underdog mentality and right, like the DJ Burns, 6-year senior, but you can see like the joy that they're playing with to be out there and competing still. And it makes sense for the team that was, on the brink of basically elimination, maybe headed to the NIT and now has rattled off 9 straight. Like it does feel like they're soaking up their moment and they're aware of like the run they are on, and it's kind of cool to see that. And that's why people like him become legends during like the Final Four March Madness run. It's cool to see just legends be made in March. That's what this tournament's all about. Taking a team that people didn't know about or believe in and then turning them into an overnight sensation. Like St. Peter's comes to mind and like Doug Edert, right? There's always like one of those teams that you look to and you're like, holy shit, like I didn't even know this university existed. And now
changes his whole life. Literally changes. I follow him on Instagram. He's doing Canes, CVS, Turbo. I mean, you win 3 games in this month in your whole life. I mean, didn't Jokic just tweet about him? He's going to be all over sport.
Press conference.
Yeah, it's you got to just love. It makes you love the sport. It makes you love the story, and yeah, it's insane.
There's also like a survivalist instinct with these teams that have these seniors. It's like this is the last opportunity that I might have to play in front of a national audience, and Duke consists of freshmen, sophomores, and 1 senior. And even the 1 senior, like every one of those guys is going to be playing on nationally broadcasted games for an audience for like the next like 10 years, right? So they're going to have more opportunities for that. But like, no offense to Ben Middlebrooks, but like if he's a senior, like this is like the biggest stage of his life. It's not going to get bigger than this. And there's like, it's like Darwinism kicks in. He's like, I just want to keep having this moment. And versus like
literally
Jared McCain knows he's going to be on the Nets in like 6 months and like he's going to have, a long NBA career versus DJ Burns and DJ Horn. They're like, I'm fighting for a fucking 2nd round pick right now.
Well, yeah, you're right. It just scarcity.
For me, it was just great to have that feeling that I can still reach these mountains of hate for Duke. I thought that might go away when Coach K left. Coach K was a real driver of that. I've just never been a Coach K guy. I think he's a narcissist. It's hilarious to see him in these commercials during March Madness because he's just he can't step away from the limelight completely. And I wasn't sure, after he left, am I going to still be able to generate, this burning passion? And it was good to feel that. It was really good to feel that I still can.
Do you think all right, so like two things. One, how much do I drive that personally? Like how much do you like to see me sag? Because I think that's a big part of it, because there's no way you hate Alabama or the Patriots like when they're in their heyday, or like any of those teams as much as you hate Duke.
I hate Alabama. I live with a Patriots fan that's from middle of Iowa, so I get reminded about Mac Jones all the time, which is great. No, I mean, it definitely helps to have like a face to put to it, right? Like you are like you're vocal, like we can go back and forth. It's like if I was super invested in like some European soccer team, but just had like nobody to like share that passion with, because who gives a shit? I would have to go to like the message boards and like just find some people to argue with. But since you're there, you're ready, you're available, you're already on your phone. It just so happens that a lot of that hate's going to get directed in arguments, maybe just back and forth with you.
I was in a group chat, like I think it was like all our fraternity guys. Yeah, I'm terrible about them. I'm terrible about everything. I almost got kicked out of our alumni tournament championship game yesterday because I was talking so much. Like everything I do, I'm pretty overboard. Like I like to talk my shit. Like I'm going to, like, because that's just what gets me fired up. That's what gets me to perform the best.
After Duke won in the Sweet 16 game, Ralph said, "Fuck all you. You guys are fucking losers." And I kind of held on to that for these last 2 days. And I was ready for this moment for them to
I still
crumble.
Feel really good about the Houston win, though. That's still like gonna like live with me for a while. Like nobody's gonna let me live that down. We lost to a better team today, and we didn't make shots. Like I can live with that. Like I think our effort was actually pretty good.
They just sucked.
They just couldn't make shots. Like that's the other thing. Like I'm gonna go down throwing punches. Reesberg and Clark, when Iowa State loses, went mute. Like they didn't say a fucking thing. Like little bitches.
That's what I was gonna say. Like because I've been chirping a bunch, and whenever you're on a team big, you have to die on your sword. You have to
100%.
When you win, you're up big, but when you're down, you got to take the shit and you got to eat it. You can't you can't dabble and be like. Or I never once said like, oh, I think Duke this might be the one that we might lose. Like you have to be all in or all out. And we are all that. So when these things happen, it creates madness. I know you guys were going at it in the chat, and I feel like I shouldn't be a part of it. I just randomly ended up falling in love with this team. And they're just insane. But at least no one's beating around the bush. At least we're all passionate. We're all just all in, like balls in, like, so it makes it fun.
Ralph can fall back a little bit on Cooper Flagg coming next year.
And Baby Ingram. All right, so I wanted to say something about that actually. So, a lot of teams, like, they hope that their team will be back next year. The good thing about being a Duke fan is we are like the Bene Gesserit in Dune Part 2. Charlotte Rampling says it to Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh is like, "What do you mean?" And she says, like, "What? That creates no hope for us." She goes, "We're the Bene Gesserit. We don't hope. We strategize." That's what Duke's going to do. They have the number 1 recruit. They have the number 7 recruit. I pulled it up right here. Number 18, number 23, all coming in next year. And I'm just ready to feast on those guys because I'm honestly sick of this fucking team. I feel like I've watched this team like 150 times, even though I've probably only watched them 20 times. And I just didn't like this team that much. Like I have a real issue with Jeremy Roach. I do not like the way that he plays basketball. He dribbles the fucking air out of the ball. He's not a point guard. He's not a facilitator at all. He's always hunting for his own shot, always trying to look cool. We have a kid in our program, like when the ball's going out of bounds, and instead of just saving it and like making a chest pass in the air, he tries to go behind his back while he does it. It's like he's trying to make a highlight play. It's like, dude, ball is life. Is not
like
good.
Calm the fuck down. This weekend.
No, he wasn't. Well, maybe. No. Yeah, no, I know. But like that's Jeremy Roach, and I'm just very excited for him to graduate and not be my point guard anymore because I think we're much better off without him.
The exciting thing about high expectations as a Duke hater is that there's bigger opportunity for
they're not going to win the national championship next year. I'll tell you that much. We're going to
And when you don't like a team, right? Like you either want, for like Duke, Kansas is another example of one of these blue blood programs that I just despise and always root against.
Can't stand them.
Outside of that, like I don't really have any other teams I consistently root against. But you either want to see them lose in the first round or you want to see them lose how they lost today. Where like they kind of get a little run, they get a little steam. Like this Duke team coming into the tournament, Ralph, you probably didn't have super high expectations, but now you're looking at NC State as an 11 seed. And you're like, holy shit, we can go to the Final Four. Like we can beat this Purdue team. Like you never know what can happen. That's the best part about March. But building up a little bit of those expectations just makes the loss and the.
But at the same time, like Russillo talks about this sometimes. He's like, if you're like, yeah, they're not going to win a championship in the next 5 years, then like, yeah, probably not, because there's like 29 other teams that can do it. In college basketball, it's 63 other teams. So I actually think it's an accomplishment to make it to the Elite Eight with this group.
It is.
So for that, I'm proud of Shire for that and happy with that, because I didn't think they were going to make it this far. I thought they were going to lose. When I filled out my bracket, when they filled out my bracket, I'm like, they're going to lose to Houston by 25. They're not going to be tough enough. And they showed some toughness, which was nice to see. But then they play against NC State today, and they don't have the same level of toughness as them, which just didn't make sense to me. And they also didn't make shots, so that sucked too.
We can talk about these other games, but with these Final Four teams, the streak of a team not being west of the Mississippi to win the championship continues. It's been like 25 years.
Really?
Since
That's
Arizona
crazy.
won it in like 97 or something.
Oh, yeah, no, because they made it to the interesting. I haven't thought about that. Okay, so East Coast dominates. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else that I want to hit on this game other than the fact that I think NC State...
Is next year a prove-it year for Shire? Like, how long is his leash? Let's say they make it to the Sweet 16. Like, as long as he keeps getting good recruiting classes the following year, is it just... Okay,
yeah, you got to give him 4 years.
We'll reload next year. We'll be really good.
So 27-9, 27-8 in his first 2 years. Bounced in the second round last year, losing the Elite Eight this year. I think that's a pretty solid start for two. But think about this. He got the car keys to the Lamborghini. And it's like, okay, like you haven't put any dents on it yet. And that's good. We don't want any dents on that thing. But it's also like, you know, you took it to a Quick Trip one time, and then the next year you took it to like Cheesecake Factory. It's like, dude, you got to pull up to like Mr. Nice Guy or something like that with like Kim Kardashian if you really want like the Duke fans.
He's
like
going 70 on the highway in a Lambo.
Yeah, because like
you can floor it.
Hey, you know, it's not always bad to go the speed limit in the Lambo. I mean, look at Rasheed Rice. Goddamn.
Okay, but like, I that's an interesting question because like I've been seeing a lot, like watching these games, like the halftime show. Been seeing a lot of Jay Wright, and I'm like, that's a coach. That's an older gentleman, and there's something comforting about a 50-year-old coaching your team versus a 36-year-old. Like John Shire is younger than LeBron, and that's just weird that he's coaching Duke right now.
Did you notice that Jay Wright got the promotion? Like he was in the studio with Candace Parker for like most of the week. And, you know, he was killing it, just giving great sound bites, great insight. He's a dapper-looking dude. He's cool, calm, and collected, as we know from when they hit the game winner. The dude barely shows any emotion in the national championship game. They called him up to sit at the booth with, you know, Kenny, Chuck, Ernie, and Clark Kellogg. So that was something that I was like, I wonder if that's just, I love that kind of stuff. I love the booth stuff and love the post-game after shows. I'm glad Chuck still does it. It'll be a shame when he hangs it up.
Yeah. I don't know how long his leash is. We'll figure it out. But we should move into the Purdue and Tennessee game. Congrats again, Cerroni. And fuck you. Fuck Duke.
Thank you.
Fuck everybody that hates Duke. You're all sheep. Sorry. Like, I don't know. Like, I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, I don't really hate the Cow. Like, I just don't understand that perspective turn. That's never made sense to me. I mean, I guess
I necessarily hate the Cowboys as much as I hate Duke. But like
I don't hate the Chiefs right now either. Like maybe they haven't been around long enough. I guess I hated Steph because he was opposite of LeBron, and it felt like a Steph versus LeBron thing. I'm like, how do you idiots not see that he's not even the same stratosphere as LeBron? But like, I never hated Kobe. I don't know. I
don't usually
find
hate
it hard
individuals.
Or even teams. Like I never hated the Patriots. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, the Patriots are really good.
Oof,
like
whatever. I hated the Patriots, but it's also because the Chiefs lost some big games to them in their division, and they owned the AFC. It was like, and a lot of times maybe there is like a undertone of jealousy.
That's what I was gonna say. It's
right.
Yeah,
like,
I find a way to hate the team that we're playing against every single time. Like when we played NC State today, I fucking hated NC State. I was saying I called DJ Burns a triple quarter pounder cheeseburger in our group chat. Like, and I'm like, I like this guy. Like 2 days ago, I was rooting for him. Like he was making me money. Like
sports does really sports. It really does bring the worst out of you. It does when it comes to, which is. It just is what it is. It's just insane. I wouldn't have it any other way. Like the passion that comes out. Like I'm watching this game. I mean, I was shaking. It looked like I was watching a Ravens game. Like it's unbelievable how much of my just well-being and happiness comes from the how a sports game finishes out or ends, how much of my happiness the next 2-3 days, like it's insane, and I wouldn't rather it any other way. But yeah, it does bring the worst out of us.
Maybe I'm just
sometimes.
psychotic. Like, I think I actually might like have like serious mental issues because like we played in this alumni. We're playing against Colton Ruprecht yesterday, Turner, and like all I could think when we were on the court, I was just like, I hate this fucking guy right now. But then like when like there was like free throws and stuff like that, we were standing next to each other. I'm like, I love Colton. Like he's such a good friend. But then like when it's live ball, like and I'm like I have to like switch on to him or something like that. I'm like this fucking like I can't stand this guy right now. So maybe
That's
I'm
just in the arena. When you're in the arena,
psycho.
I mean, dude, that's what you'd rather have that. I mean, fuck, bro. Half the NBA these days is like they're friends with everybody on the other teams.
I mean,
You
I
heard
am
Brady
friends with
talk
Colton. Like
when-
he's my boy. But like when we're playing against each other, I'm
Yeah,
like,
but
I
when
want
you're
to
in the
kill you.
arena,
Yeah.
that's how it should be. That's how that's how Brady was. That's how all the greats were. That's how when Kobe played Spain for Team USA,
Tom Brady,
ran through
Kobe.
Powell
Yeah.
on the first play. Like when you're in between the lines, man, you gotta. The sports are better that way when you're hunting for blood when it's in between the lines.
Facts.
I don't think you're psychotic.
It's
just
fun when
you wanna
sports
win.
create rivalries too. You know, Ralph, it's fun to be on the other side of you.
Yeah, it is. It is fun to be on the other side of people. It's definitely more entertaining than like, oh, we're all so happy holding hands, rooting for the same team all the time. Like,
Yeah.
fuck that.
Exactly.
Fucking losers. And just like a quick side note, one happy thing did happen today. The Lakers look like all right now, but LeBron had an amazing game. He had 40 points. He was 13 of
Yeah, I
17
saw
from
it.
the
It went
field and
dummy.
9 for 10 from 3. So I got to watch those highlights tonight. That's something to look forward to. All right, we can do Purdue and Tennessee now for sure, because that was the earlier
Purdue
game
versus
today.
Tennessee might have been my favorite game of the tournament so far, just because you have two guys that are argued back and forth. These are the best two players in the nation all year, and it's so much fun when the guys that are supposed to be the best players in the court play like it. Edey had 40, Connect had 37. Back and forth
Edey had
game, a lot of
40?
lead changes. Yeah,
He had
unreal
16
game, a lot
rebounds.
of fun. In both these teams, whether it's Rick Barnes or Purdue, I don't particularly. I think Purdue's whatever Big Ten rival, a little nerdy. But both these teams as programs, it was like a big hump for them to get over. Rick Barnes, Tennessee has never been to a Final Four, and then Purdue, who's had just a great program, been to a bunch of Elite Eights, have never touched a Final Four in over 40 years. So huge win for either team going into this, and just felt like a big game. And it was also I saw the first time a 1 and 2 seed have played each other in over like 5 years. Which I thought was fascinating
Oh,
too.
really? Yeah,
I just think it was like
happen,
a really balanced game. Like both of these teams, like I've been talking about it with Mike. Like both of these teams are really dynamic. They can score in a bunch of different ways. Purdue doesn't just rely on like Edey dump downs to the post, but like their guards are also really active.
Yeah,
They
they're wet.
move constantly. I didn't realize how much they like set like flare screens and things of that nature. So like fun to watch that aspect of Purdue. They're not just feeding into Edey every single time. I mean, they want to try to isolate him as much as possible, which leads to him getting 40 and 16. But Connect is the fucking man. I mean, his shot is
he's
like
a bucket.
he's going to translate to the league easy. Like he's a great shooter, good ball handler. He's got some dog in him too. I mean, Edey had 40, he had 37. He took 31 shots to get there, but like 6 of 12 from 3. I mean, you could just tell. Like, did he play the whole game? 37 minutes. Played almost every minute. So he was out there while it lasted.
I know Purdue. I remember Purdue went down like 12, like maybe 6 or 7 minutes before half too, and they came right. They ended up, I think, in the half
11-0
ended, they were
run like
up
right away. Yeah,
it was nuts. So I thought, you can just tell Purdue is, and we called this too before the bracket. You can just tell they're just pissed off this year, just out for fucking blood. And yeah, I think they look like the best team. They've looked like the best team. I mean, I don't know. There's UConn looked fucking insane.
We got
too,
the sample size now. If you're a 1 seed and lose to the 16, you're guaranteed to go to the Final Four next year. It's 2-0.
Interesting.
Virginia and Purdue.
And Virginia won it.
My my comp for Connect is Corey Kispert. That's just, I don't see how he can't beat Corey Kispert in the NBA. Second year, he's 23 years old. He's a little old going in, but like you said, Ralph, his game should translate seamlessly, and he's a better finisher at the rim than I probably gave him credit for. He's pretty bouncy.
A little bit more creative, I would say, than Kispert. Kispert was so effective at just coming off of a stagger screen, just knocking that thing down. Connect, I don't know if he's quite there as a shooter, but yeah, I think that's a solid one. Also, always got to comp a white guy to a white guy. I don't know. I want to talk about UConn because I think I'm obsessed with UConn. Like obviously I'm a Duke fan, but like as a basketball fan, it's just like I like to watch like the best executions of basketball. So like when I'm watching UConn, I have way more fun than when I watch Duke. Like watching Duke can be really hard sometimes because they can be frustrating like today. And when they're on, it's fun to watch, but it's like not as beautiful. Like there's something about UConn that I think even just watching Purdue and Tennessee today, I was like,
Yeah, UConn and Purdue are just well-oiled machines.
but I still don't even think they're in the same league as UConn. Like I really don't. I think Purdue is solid.
That much farther above.
I do. I think they're fucking. I mean, they won 77-52 against Illinois, and they literally went on a 30-0 run. We just watched Illinois play against Iowa State a few nights ago, and they looked good. And that's against the best defense in the country. But then they just ran into this team that is just more talented than you, more disciplined than you. And I think the biggest thing, honestly, I think they're smarter than everybody. I think that they just know basketball better than everybody. They're just obsessed with it, and they're just going to keep kicking ass. And so I didn't feel as bad about Duke losing.
Insane.
Klingen?
He looks like he's dropping it in the hoop every time. It's crazy. He's way better than I thought. I feel like he might fly under the radar when it comes to the big guys.
Their whole team flies under the radar. The program flies under the radar. Like why is it like, all right, so let's say Duke had this year. Let's say they were 35-3 this year. You wouldn't stop hearing about Jared McCain and Filipowski. I mean, even when they weren't 35-3, you probably couldn't resist hearing about those guys because, that's just the way that it goes. But for some reason, even though they have 4 national championships this century, they're still like an underrated program. I mean, they've won their last 9 games by at least 13 points in the NCAA tournament alone. They won this one by 25 to go to the Final Four. And then they're going to play.
Yeah, they haven't skipped. They're playing Bama
on Saturday. So the times are out too. They play the night game. They'll be at 7:49, and Purdue and NC State will be at 5 o'clock. That'll be fun.
I know. I went to Bama Clemson. That was a wild experience.
All right, let's do Bama Clemson. We haven't talked about that game yet. That's all right.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was. So me and the boys hammered Clemson. I really believe them. The first half was a lot closer because Clemson, can usually score decently, but their defense has been suffocating, like all tournament, just really good defense. And Bama wasn't hitting the 3 ball the first half. I don't think they missed a 3 the second half. Just lights out. That kid Stevenson, 15 in the corner, and then when Sears when he's seeing green, it doesn't matter where he is, how far, if he's off balance, if he's coming off a screen. It's going in the hoop. It was
if he's 30 feet out, like he hit that one from nearly the logo, and he started out like 0 for 7 too, and then he just rattled off 6 in a row.
He hit 7 in a row because the one he missed, he just kind of chucked up with the clock running out.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And then Clemson there was about a minute and 40 seconds left, and Clemson was down 5, and they have 2 free throws, and the kid missed them both. And then it just fucking fell apart. So they were in it. They were there. Like I had hope right up until the end. And then that kid PJ Hall is a bucket. The big white kid on Clemson. He's insane. When he fouled out with like 3 minutes left, you just kind of this soul just left the team. But when Bama is making threes, they just are completely reliant on. If they're going in, it's probably wraps, but if they're not going in, they really can't get much going down low at all. So
this is why I almost think Bama has, out of the 4 remaining teams, the best chance of beating UConn, just because there's such high variability in the style they play, where maybe they just have one of those games where everything's going down from 3. Not always, but where's the Final Four at?
Phoenix.
It's in the football stadium, right?
Yep.
I feel like the first games that people play are like the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I feel like the 3-point shooting is always tough. Shooting those football stadiums. So we'll see if that has an impact on them at all.
Layout. Yeah, you're right. I didn't realize it was. Because that's probably weird because you're almost in this like Coliseum. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, you're right.
They went 16 of 36 from 3 today. And just to contrast that, so it's 36 attempted threes, and that was on Saturday, actually. UConn went 3 of 17 from 3.
And won by like
So-
30, which is insane.
Yeah. So, like, they're
Yeah.
not relying on that aspect of their game.
Cam
I'm not
Spencer's
sure
like their
Alabama
only
even
reliable 3-point shooter.
Spencer. And I think Newton's a decent enough shooter, but I'm not sure if he's, like, as
He's,
knocked
like,
down as that. Or Caravan.
How
I watched
many-
Caravan shoot.
How many is UConn favored by? What's
That's a good
the?
question.
Is it pretty hefty?
I'm going to guess 7.5, and I would bet it all the way up to, like, 11.5.
Give me
Yeah.
9.
9.
Yeah, you were dead on with UConn.
I mean, you're probably right, Turner. I think I'm just giving more credence. Yeah, sorry. It's 11.5.
Woof.
Wow.
And Purdue is favored by 9.5.
Dude, that's such a trend. Vegas knows what they're doing, dude. People will go, oh, it's a Final Four game. 11.5, that seems like a lot.
I've been robbing Vegas. They didn't know about NC State, I'll tell you that.
No, they
That slipped
didn't.
I
right
still
under
don't
the
know,
radar.
apparently. They're
Still
still
don't
blind.
know. Yeah, that's crazy. I think UConn. Yeah, I hope it doesn't happen for NC State, but UConn Purdue would just be an absolute clash of the Titans. That would be. I'd be upset because NC State's not in it, but that would be one hell of a natty. I feel
Yeah,
like
the
that would
storylines
just be.
would
Yeah,
be
and you're
great.
right. It's never one seed versus one seed in the natty.
Yeah.
Like that would be nuts.
I think the last
Um,
time was Gonzaga Baylor. I think that was the last time we had a 1 seed versus a 1
Yeah,
seed.
that's right. Those are the two best teams all year that year. But you'd have the
Yeah.
back-to-back championship for UConn, or the back-to-back losing to the 16 seed to winning the championship
Yeah.
next year storyline
Three-
for Purdue.
And you know
Yeah,
what?
that would
Like
be-
that's interesting you say that about Baylor Gonzaga because I think Purdue and UConn. I mean, I don't pay as much attention to it, but Purdue, UConn, and maybe Houston have been
Those
regarded
three
as the
were
best teams
kind
all
of in
year.
a class of their own. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, well, all right. Duke knocked out one of them. We'll take that, I guess. Just thinking about like, all right, so we have DJ Burns obviously as like the big winner of this weekend. What other winners are standing out to you guys that we can like kind of take away? We know who the losers are because they fucking lost. Like, I'm sorry,
Duke.
I guess. But like, I think there can still be winners within the losses. Like throughout the tournament, I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is a huge winner. Just one that comes to mind immediately because like, I mean, yeah, sure, they got their asses beat by UConn, but it definitely wasn't because of him. You know, he went down swinging, kind of like I do in the group chats. Like he just kept firing, playing hard, and all this kind of stuff. So I think he worked his way into like a top 20 pick. I think Danny Hurley is a huge winner. I mean, back-to-back Final Fours. There's that video of him in January of 2020 after they lost to Villanova, and he's in the press conference, and he said something along the lines of, get us while you can right now. Like, this is your opportunity to win against us because we're fucking coming. And ever since then,
That's
they've been a
lit.
goddamn freight train. But yeah, are there any other winners that are sticking out to you guys?
I
Ramadan?
think, Terrence Shannon, Ramadan's a big winner overall. I think, Don Connect, he's way better than I thought he was. Who's the white kid on Kentucky? He's a big loser.
Shepard.
Who was the
Creighton?
was it on
Yes.
Creighton
Taylor
or
Shireman.
DeVries? What's his name?
Oh, DeVries? Drake.
Oh, Drake. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I feel like he choked big time. I thought he was
But
gonna
I
be
mean
nasty.
from this weekend, not from the tournament as a whole. Like, who's the big losers
Oh,
from this
okay.
weekend? Because, like,
Big loser or
he's
winner?
obviously a winner.
a little bit of both.
Winner.
Because, I mean, this could be a
Okay.
replacement for, popcorn picks and spit and swallow. Like, I mean, all right.
I would
I
say
think-
Nate Oates, big winner. It's year 4 at Alabama. He's put together really good teams: 2 seed, 6 seed, 1 seed. They were a 4 seed this year. They kind of came in without a lot of momentum. I didn't really believe in this team, and now they're here in the Final Four, and it kind of proves out, who Nate Oates wants to be as a coach, and that they can get to the Final Four. He's a pretty fiery guy. It'll be fun to watch him and Hurley opposite of each other on the sidelines. They share a lot of similar personality traits. Last year, obviously, they had probably the best team in the country going into the tournament. They also had the Brandon Miller storyline as the backdrop of, heat in the hat. But yeah, so I'd say Nate Oates, big winner.
Sears on Bama is a big winner.
Yep. And I think to
he-
the Oates point, though, like, the big winner for this weekend that you can take away is, that moment in The Dark Knight when the Joker's hanging upside down and he said we're like an unstoppable force, meaning an immovable object. Like you never know what's going to happen. I think the unstoppable force is a big winner coming out of this weekend because you have Nate Oates, who played against Clemson, and we talked about the pace, Cerroni, of that game, right? If that were to happen, like what that pace would look like. And this final score was 89-82. Clemson wanted that game to be 65-60. And Alabama was like, we're going to fucking run. You got to keep up with us. And the same thing happened in Illinois and Iowa State. That was Iowa State, a slower team that wants to be defensively minded. And Illinois came out on top because they were just able to push the pace and make more shots.
Yeah. Whoever plays their game, just like in football, man, if you could play your game.
Another big winner out of this weekend is offense too. This is kind of to your point, Ralph. The teams that had the higher offensive rating won every single one of the Sweet 16 games. And you look at the teams that lost were a little bit more of the defensive-minded, defensive-oriented teams. Which
I've been meditating on that recently.
People talk about how like guards win in March, but this year is kind of the big man too. So I'll say big man were winners as well.
Yeah, to both of those points, I've been thinking about that a lot recently because the tried and true like statement and cliche that everybody rolls with is defense wins championships. Defense shows up in March. Well, I mean, like I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander said it after a press conference. He's like, he plays defense because the coach taught him at an early age. If the other team scores 0 and you score 2, you still win. And that's obviously never going to happen in a basketball game unless it's like first graders on a 10-foot hoop. But this year, like it has been the opposite. The offensive rating thing is interesting, but that's why I'm like so shocked by like some of these games. Like I think even this, like I thought that Marquette had a better offense than that. But it turns out NC State has a better offensive rating. There you go. They come out with the win. Like Duke, I thought had a better talent on offense than Houston. They got lucky that Shed got hurt. I get that. But like they ended up prevailing in that win. And then the same thing applies to who was the Thursday game? Alabama, North Carolina. I thought that North Carolina had a better offense. Yeah. But like Alabama was just like, we're going to push the pace.
That was a fun game. Those two teams just both want to play fast. And Bama won, 89-87. So like, I think both those teams left that game saying, hey, we kind of played how we wanted to play. And, it was a close game and Bama just made a few more shots. But it was a good weekend of basketball. I had a lot of fun.
I think it's a big loss
this
for
is all coming to
sorry,
I was just gonna say it's sad we only got really one more weekend of Matt. It just I feel like we felt like fucking an hour ago that we were watching the round of 64. It just it fucking goes by so fast. It's sad. Yeah, it's just it's such a thrill though. It's it's sad it's all coming to a close.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, I guess the college basketball season can be bitter. But yeah, a week after that, we have the NBA play-in, which will be fun. So, I've already made my argument there. I don't have to repeat that. I think another big loser this weekend is bigots. Tough weekend for bigots, man. I mean, if you don't like fat people, DJ Burns is just rubbing it in your face, just jiggling all over the fucking court. If you don't like metrosexual gentlemen, Jared McCain is painting those nails and knocking down threes. If you're, a black person that's racist towards white people, we got a bunch of white boys that are hooping right now. Connect, Kalkbrenner, Klingon, Cam Spencer.
Edey's white, right?
Japanese?
Right? He's Canadian, and then he's like half Asian.
Chinese or Russian.
He's like Russian too.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so, he looks very he's not a pretty guy.
No, he's not.
I honestly said for being 7'4", you can't expect a lot. I wouldn't say, he's going to be winning any contests for America's Most Wanted Male, but for being 7'4", I had the other take today. I told my roommate, I said, he could be worse.
You got a deep voice. Yeah. The voice carries with, and I liked the moment where he dropped the F-bomb on national TV because I didn't see that coming from Zach Edey. I thought he was super PC, boring guy.
Yeah, like a little flair, a little style.
He's got that villain's edge that I'm really digging right now, and they're standing up for Matt Painter and stuff. Actually,
I'll say he's a big winner, dude.
Yeah,
huge winner. 40-16, played unbelievable.
Bro, if you're dropping 40 in 2 20-minute halves, I mean, I don't know how much. What's the most score? Is there been many people that have put up above 40 in a college game?
No, not a ton. Handful. It doesn't happen often. And to another point is Edey didn't have a lot of assists, but he does pass out of the post pretty well. And then things that don't come up on the score, like on the box score, but it might have ended up more than this. It definitely did because he got intentionally fouled down the stretch. But with like 10 minutes left in the second half, he'd already drawn 10 fouls. That shows up elsewhere with like people being in foul trouble, other guys getting to the line in the bonus because you're getting hacked. And those are like the things that sometimes make him hard to watch because it is bludgeoning, over and over again in the post and a lot of fouls. But you also got to respect like how that impacts the game and, Purdue winning. So this is a guy that in the Big Ten 3 to 4 years ago, I made the comment on one of these pods. It's like, I don't even think this guy likes to play basketball. I don't know why he's out there. It looks like he hates ball. To see him kind of turn into that guy who came off the bench and just was kind of like a freak show, out there, like 7'4". We'll see what happens to back-to-back National Player of the Year. Player, Final Four winner of the MVP of their, side of the bracket. Got to give him credit for becoming a much, much better player than I ever thought he could be. Even at 7'4", right, where he has a lot of inherent physical traits that, lend itself to the ball court. But
yeah, Matt Painter too, to a degree, because there was the discussion of him not being able to get over the hump, and his players like him. Like they're coming into his back, like during press conferences. Like a lot of people talking shit about our coach this year. We're not big fans of that, so that's good to see. I think just like even these 8 teams, like each round, there's more attention on your team the further that you go, right? So like the big losers, like right now, could be like Kentucky and Kansas and all the guys who aren't being mentioned right now, because I think now more than ever, actually, the kids that are younger than us that are determining what colleges they're going to attend, I don't know if they watched the round of 64. And I don't think like moms watch the round of 64. So there's like that level of attention, right?
This is an interesting take.
You're for sure getting way more eyes.
More eyes, but I also like these kids now, like they're determining what school they go. Like NC State, I think, is a huge winner, not just like the team right now, but just North Carolina State, the university, and their coach, and like their next like 5 years. Like the fact that like the Wolfpack has its own branding, that's interesting to me too.
Does their coach, just because I've only been on them for a couple months, does their coach have any type of pedigree or resume?
He was kind of on the hot seat, and once I think
that's what I heard.
Once they won that the conference championship in his contract,
he got like an extension.
Yeah, 2-year extension. It was built in. It's like so he was on the hot seat, maybe going to get fired. Then he got the 2-year extension just for winning the ACC. Yeah, and now he's in the Final Four.
Yeah, now I'm sure he'll be welcomed back with open arms. That's cool. Because I've never seen. He does kind of look familiar, but I've never really seen. I bet people will start talking about him now. They seem to love him, seem to play for him. I don't really know. Yeah, he doesn't really stand out as far as a coach, but he's got to be doing something right.
Well, he literally stood out today. He stood out of place when he got that fucking stupid-ass technical. That's the lamest shit ever, bro. I do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
I will literally like walk like all the way down to the baseline on underneath plays, and then when we're on offense on one end, I will walk past the scorer's table, and nobody ever says shit. Like no refs ever care.
I was gonna say you never get a tech. Yeah,
coaches walk onto the court, like you can see like Shaka Smart like standing like 4 feet outside the 3-point line. Just dumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agreed with that. I didn't love the refs today, but whoever loves the refs in a game that they're rooting for, they usually can find some kind of biased or unbiased.
Yeah,
calls.
the officiating has been all tournament. It's not. I think what happens in March is like the refs probably get spread so thin, right? To where they got to get refs from every which way to ref gate, because there's so many fucking games that it just is not as. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but there's just so much. I don't know.
There's missed calls. I would say that the only thing that's sometimes tough on the refs is there's just like, if you watch different conferences play, there seem to be different styles of basketball and refereeing within those conferences. So there can be just some inconsistency in the tournament when you watch some of these games.
Yeah.
I thought overall, there's going to be missed calls. We all know college refereeing isn't always the best, but I thought generally speaking, it's been okay. The only problem I have with the refs is Gene Steratore in like the last 2 minutes of the games, where there was, what was the game that went to overtime recently? Maybe it was the Houston game. The first time when Houston went to OT in the second, against A&M. The last 5 minutes of that game, and then the 5 minutes of overtime took 45 minutes, maybe longer, because they just review every single thing. Like any ball that goes out of bounds, it's insane. And fuck Gene Steratore, just for the record.
Yeah.
Forever fuck Gene Steratore. I mean,
Dude,
how can you be the master of two sports? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, he's on the NFL a month and a half ago, and now fucking March Madness.
So, Ralph, I thought he was, an NFL guy coming in to the basketball, but they said Gene Steratore, college basketball ref for 16 years, active up until 2018. How the fuck did he become the NFL guy?
And also, that's 16 crazy. Years isn't that long. Like, I guess like a more tenured person, like 30 years of college basketball refereeing experience, but like 16 years, dude, like his career can't even get like fucking jewel pods.
He was college basketball ref until 2018. It didn't list anything about being an NFL ref unless he was doing double duty, at which point I salute. But how the hell? Makes no sense.
I'm still not saluting him. I don't think he should be the expert on both of them. But anybody can replace Steve Javie in the NBA. Steve Javie is way worse. Steve Javie is so boring.
It says he was doing both of them. Still, fuck Gene Steratore till I die.
Yeah, fuck Gene Steratore.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Just a rules guy. I'd say another big loser this weekend is me. I'm a huge loser. I talked all this shit like so much, and when I talk shit, like it's obviously aggressive, right. And it's also pointed. Like, I will say shit about people to their face in that chat, and like try to like, I don't know, put them in like public like, exile, and like nobody is ever at my back.
Because when you got so many people going at you, you got to start throwing some cheap shots to try to gain ground.
I'm getting it tough. In every direction. I've got Bordy here and Petey here, and that's one like kind of thing. And then you have Reese, Clark, and Turner in another corner, and then Caps comes out of the woodworks.
My shit wasn't at you. I was just so happy we fucking somehow I was just amazed. Like, it would have been against any team, but yeah, it's definitely it's tough when your team is getting it and you're just getting it from all angles. But yeah, I feel that. I've been there with the Ravens before, and it's just bad. At least we got to see it though. At least they played each other.
More people are rooting for the Ravens than ever. Nobody's ever like the Ravens or Duke. They're not even in the same league. Ravens are lovable.
Hey, Ralph,
you're right.
Yeah, you do.
And you know what? It doesn't really matter as long as you win. When you lose,
but you have Patrick Mahomes. So like, there's like an inevitability to him. Like, you know it's going to happen. I had Jeremy Roach and Kyle Filipowski today. Like, they're not Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in that defense.
I mean, Ralph's all in on the nail painters, dude. He's got Caleb Williams coming into town next year. Those are his guys.
That's true.
Fun fact: I actually got nail paint for Valentine's Day. That helps me not bite my nails. You paint it on your nails and it makes it taste like ass. Okay, so it's not colored. It's like little like flesh colored ones, and I don't bite my nails anymore because it just smells like literal ass.
But are you going to be disciplined? Like, will you be disciplined enough to put it on every morning, or like were you just like, I'm not going to put this? You know, what I'm saying?
Put it on every 2 days.
What if you're trying to put your fingers in somebody else's mouth?
That's a good call. I did that.
You might do some planning, some prepping. Hold off for a couple days.
Thorough wash, I suppose, before.
I feel like if I had that, I just would not put it. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to put this on. I guess you're trying to pay yourself off. But
before we go and wrap up here, women's basketball. We got some prime time games coming up the next 2 days.
Sure.
Hawkeyes, CC got the job done. Unreal performance against Colorado, and now we have the rematch that the committee
are they playing.
The committee definitely had in mind when they put LSU and Iowa on opposite ends, of the bracket of the region.
When is that game?
Tomorrow night, Monday night.
Oh,
okay. Wait.
Beautiful.
Let me do this first before we talk about that. So when people are hearing this, yeah, Iowa and LSU play tonight. I was watching the UConn Duke game. I watched the first half before, I think it was Clemson, Arizona. It's still pretty ugly sometimes in the girls' game. Like, I've heard a lot of people this year being like, the girls' game is more fun to watch than the boys. And I think it's all because of Caitlin, because they think every girls' game has a Caitlin Clark in it. Not every girls' game has a Caitlin Clark. Even Paige Beckers for UConn, who is awesome, still couldn't make that game. Like, and it wasn't even like, I'm not insulting them. I'm just insulting that half of basketball that I watched specifically, because I saw a lot of missed layups, a lot of sloppy shit. So I still want to say, like, it's not on par with like even men's college basketball.
It's not, but like we just saw UConn go on a 30-0 run against Illinois. So like there's
Right.
still ugly stuff that
It's
happens in
valid.
the men's game. Obviously,
And we have
they're
more of a
not nearly-
relationship with like the Iowa LSU game tomorrow
Yeah.
night because it happened last year versus Duke and NC State, who are playing for the second time this year. It's like people aren't really thinking about that as much as they're thinking about this game.
I mean,
Or with Iowa and LSU,
Yeah.
like you have a whole narrative around it.
you go in with an open
It's gonna be
mind,
fun.
open heart. You're gonna enjoy yourself. You know,
Yep.
there's parts and periods where it's like, you know, they're not gonna be high flyers, and there's some plays around the basket that you're like, ooh, like kind of wish they made that play. Sure, but they do shoot the lights out of the ball typically. Outside of the Portland region, which this was making headline news today, they played, what was it, 4 games, and they realized that the 3-point line was not the same.
Oh, I
distance
saw
from both
that,
ends.
dude. That was
So
it looks so
Unbelievable.
obvious.
It
unbelievable.
was obvious.
And
That's why they had to measure it.
I can't believe they played multiple games on that without even saying anything or noticing it. And
Yeah,
and I
who's
went back and
painting that?
I looked at the box scores, and everybody shot like shit from 3-point line.
Huh. That's
That-
interesting because, like, as a shooter,
Yeah.
like, I would know immediately. So, like, it's interesting when
Yeah.
a player didn't speak up and was like, yo, like, this one's obviously closer. Like, I've been playing on these
Yeah.
courts every day for the last, like, I don't know, 15 years of my life. Like, it's always been the same length. Why is this so short? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think one was too short. I think the other one was too long.
I would definitely notice that then. I'd be like, this is pretty fucking far. I didn't know how
Yeah,
to
like,
shoot
why
from where
is it so
Clay
far?
does.
Yeah.
Like,
and
why do I
so-
have to shoot from the
but
same distance as Jalen
I
Williams?
saw like a screenshot and it looked like it's like, bro, the painter of the court didn't finish that, give it a couple double takes and be like, oh, wait a second, like, whoa, like what the fuck? It looked like pretty. I don't know if it was like a blurred screenshot. I didn't watch the actual in-game foot, but it looked like brutally like warped. So yeah, that's a tough look.
In that LSU Iowa game, you got Angel Reese, Flage Johnson, and Caitlin
Floge.
Clark. All three of them have like over 1 million followers on Instagram, right? I don't think there's a single college
Wow.
basketball player right now currently, like men's side, that has over, maybe Bronny Jr.
Bronny Jr. definitely.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
he has like
Bronny.
8 million.
But like, so
but he's-
there's
'cause
some,
he's
definitely some
LeBron's
star
son.
power
Out for
in this
blood.
game. So it should be fun. Yeah, the dialogue coming out of it, hopefully it's a little better this time. I think hopefully last year everybody got a lot of that out. We'll see.
Well, and UConn versus South Carolina, you have the old dynasty and Gino
Mhm.
Auriemma and Don Staley, who's trying to build the new dynasty in South Carolina. They're obviously not there yet. What UConn did for the longest time was like, you remember when they had like a 132 game win streak?
Bro,
It was
yeah.
really 132 games in a row that they just won.
I don't remember what
Yeah.
the stat I gave the other day, but it's been like 20. I'm just throwing out the number. Look it up. It's insane. But it was like 20 straight Sweet 16s for UConn. Like, that's just silly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
they're
nuts.
unbelievable.
That'll be a good. I'll tune into that. I will, and I usually never would. But I've seen a lot of Caitlin Clark this year, and I know what happened last year. I think that should be fun to watch.
Well, I think the ratings on that game, I can almost guarantee you're going to see an Instagram graphic, Thursday morning, and it's going to say the most viewed college basketball game, men or women's, this entire year
Yeah,
was
it's-
Iowa LSU Monday night. Like, I can almost promise you. And it'll probably get more
Oh, yeah.
ratings than the national championship game for college basketball did last year.
Crazier streak than the Sweet 16 one. Last year, this streak ended, but UConn women's basketball went to 14 straight Final Fours.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's insane. Renee Montgomery, Tina Charles, Maya Moore, Hoopers,
Maya Moore.
Diana Taurasi.
One
That was probably
other
before
piece
Taurasi
I'll
even.
throw out too, and I don't know what men's does about this, but like you look at the commercials, like the only guy I saw on the men's side in some of these commercials was like
Mondo Baycott.
Armando Baycott's got one, and then Isaiah Collier, who's in the ball doesn't start till March commercial for Powerade. He didn't even make the tournament. And then
Yeah.
the women's side, I see a bunch of these girls in a ton of the commercials. Like Cam Brink
Caitlin
is
Clark's
down.
everywhere.
Caitlin Clark's
Yeah,
everywhere.
she-
Flage Johnson has one. Angel Reese is in a few. Like
Well, that's
Becker's is
because
in
these
some.
commercials are being produced before the tournament, and we get bigger stars out of the tournament than we do the college basketball regular season. Like, you get
Yeah,
DJ
that's
Burns
true.
and you get Jack Golke
Yeah,
in March when
And the
it's too
women's
late to
very
produce a full
predictable, too.
commercial. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
that's
Like,
true.
you don't know, like, that the 11 seed NC State team that won 4 games in a row in the conference tournament is going to make it this far. So,
And-
Yeah,
And it just shows. I mean,
it's valid.
the people that turn into stars for college basketball usually leave, and the people that turn into stars for women's basketball are usually back the next year.
That's a great point too.
I mean, if you could enforce this rule tomorrow, Ralph, would you have basically a high school to NBA pipeline, and if you go play college ball, you have to stay for 2 years, or do you think that would cause even more issues?
I don't want players coming from high school. I think it's too young, especially for right now, how talented the league is. I think you're going to have too many guys flopping and bouncing out. I was actually thinking about that because watching UConn, I was like, I've been a one and done supporter. Like, I'm like excited to get guys from Duke to the NBA, but obviously, like there is a part of me that would just obviously rather have them stay. I think if they did the NFL rule, you got to stay for 2 years. But my biggest issue with that is now transferring is just way too easy, and people can just flip flop and switch schools all the time, which is good to a certain degree. But like Omaha, for example, I think if he had to stay 2 years, I think you should have to stay 2 years
Omaha,
with the original team that you picked.
5-star, Iowa State transferring out.
Yep. I think if you commit to a team like that, especially on a scholarship, you should have to stay there for at least 2 years. And that would just prevent like these young kids coming to the league and getting passed immediately.
One and done. You can't transfer out after your freshman year. You got to stay at least till your sophomore year. I like that. I think that's a good rule.
But then that also gives the Europeans even more of an advantage because it is better for a player to be in the NBA than it is for college basketball, I think, like from a skill development and like professional standpoint and the people you're surrounded with.
It's one or done, but you can't transfer out after your freshman year, which, I mean, you don't want to, push people to the league that aren't ready, but like there should be some level of commitment there too. I agree.
Yeah, have some loyalty.
Ralph, what's going on with the G League Ignite? I had talked about this on one of our last pods, and you mentioned it's closing down, or they're shutting it down. Do you think that's going to have an impact with more guys going to college ball, or is that like they're going to replace it with something else, or what's the gist?
So there's the G League Ignite just got shut down last month, almost exactly after we started talking about it, which is hilarious. But like it hasn't been very successful. Like the guys that have come in. So they actually operate on a different schedule than like the other G League teams. They only play like 30 games when other teams play like 45 or something along those lines. But now there's alternative leagues like Amen and Osar Thompson are two twins that probably most people listening to this podcast haven't heard of. They were both both top 10 picks last year to the Rockets and the Pistons. They're two of the most athletic people I've ever seen grace a basketball court. And I've seen a lot of athletes. I'm telling you, they're faster than ever. They're like De'Aaron Fox's speed. They jump like Vince Carter, and they have wingspans like Wesley Johnson at Syracuse. Like they're built like fucking freaks. Those are two guys that I just wish I could have seen in college basketball. Like if they would have been on Houston or something like that, that team would have been unbelievably just like talented, athletic, all that kind of stuff.
It's cool to see twins play together on the big stage. I mean, think about all the ones we've had over the years, or just like brothers in general.
But especially those two, like because I haven't seen any of their overtime elite games, which is overtime is literally an Instagram account, and they are popular enough to pay people to come play basketball for them. That's insane. Like and they have created their own league that, like where like a guy hit a 3 in an overtime elite game, and the guy that was recording it on the sideline handed him the phone while he was still on the court after he hit an and 1-3, and the guy just recorded himself. He's like, I'm about that life. And then went to the free throw line right afterwards. I'm like, this isn't basketball. This is not real basketball. What are you doing?
It's Savannah Bananas.
I don't know why. Like I would just love like just collegiately with all the rivalries and the fans and the colors and like I would want to play a college sport so bad.
Well, yeah, but you got to think about where these guys are coming from. They're like, I'm going to be the pioneer. I'm going to be like the first man in the overtime elite league. I'm going to start it off, and everybody's going to follow my footsteps because they all have huge egos. They're all 17, 18-year-old kids. They don't think like, I want to go play for a brand that's bigger than me. They're like, I'm my own brand. I want to make this brand bigger. They're like, that's how
I don't know if that'll ever work.
No, it won't. I want these kids to go to play college. Like, go play in college. Go there for at least 1 year. If you're one and done, that's great. Let's get to the league, baby. All right, so there's a kid coming in for Duke this year. Obviously, Cooper Flagg. So the other kid is Isaiah Evans. And people call him Baby Ingram because he has almost the exact same looking jump shot as him. He's lanky. He's tatted. He doesn't look as high when he plays as BI does. So, like, it'll take me a little bit to fall in love with him. But I'm already pretty much there, right? That's a kid who, putting on that muscle, like your second year, I think is huge for especially guys that are that lanky, like BI or KD. They start to get a little bit better. But I think you build better muscle when you go to the NBA. So I think he should be a one and done. But, the guys who are like Johnny Furphy for Kansas, not sure he's NBA ready yet. Like, I don't know if he'll get any minutes on an NBA team, but he is going to be 34 minutes a game next year for Kansas, at least, if he plays, right? And so he's going to get a ton of playing experience, and that's the best teacher. Whereas Isaiah Evans, like, he's going to go to the draft after next year, and he'll probably play right away because of his size, intangibles, potential, all that kind of stuff for a shitty team, and he'll grow that way. But Furphy is like, it's like Connect. Like, Connect stayed 4 years. He would have been way better off doing this path right now and playing until he's 23 versus opting for the league after his first blow-up year when he was a sophomore.
Yeah, I think you would favor the guy that's played 4 years of college ball too. Who's going to come into the league just way more savvy, just way more experienced. I don't know. I feel like I would favor that.
Look at Jalen Brunson. Like, he is translated. He plays the same style of basketball in the NBA that he did in college. It took him a little bit to figure it out. He also just didn't have as much opportunity because he was playing alongside Luka. But he's like the perfect example of savvy. Like, he's not the most athletic guy. He doesn't have the best jump shot even. He just knows to get to his spots, and he's just worked so hard at it.
Well, yeah, to your point, Ralph, I mean, obviously, like, the stars and the studs go out because you're going to get opportunity to grow your game. But some of these guys get pigeonholed into like a very small role on these teams very quickly because that's just what they need. You're going to stand in the corner and spot up, shoot, and play hard D. And I think of Devin Booker is a good example of a guy that was on a bad team and had the opportunity to like run point guard and expand his game on a team that sucked. Meanwhile, you get drafted to a different team and maybe you don't have that opportunity where, to your point, Jalen Brunson was really able to expand his game over 3 years at Villanova and get opportunities that he would otherwise not have gotten. It's different for every person too, but I do think that's a fair point.
But yeah, I was thinking about UConn. I was like, God, they have all these guys who have stayed, bunch of seniors. I'm like, just fucking imagine if Duke just like this year we would have Paolo Banchero as a junior. Can you imagine Paolo playing college basketball right now? Like, he's putting up like 24 a night in the NBA. He looks unbelievable. That's crazy, for the Magic. I can't wait for people to watch the Magic in the playoffs, dude, and like just see Paolo and be like, holy fuck, he's already this good in the NBA.
He's so big.
6'10", 250.
He's a fucking dog.
I'm really excited for the NBA. Nuts. That's kind of my other thing. It's like, there was like something about leaving. There is something relieving about not having Duke in the tournament now because I just don't have like that nervousness when I watch.
Dude, that's how
I'll be watching the Final Four and I'll be like, all right, here we go. Like, because like there's something like anxiety inducing, and it's also just like,
it's a good thing that
2.5 hours.
You're best off.
No, it's just I'm trying to fucking balance a Turner. Fuck off.
Too much for you.
I'm trying to glass half full. I'm trying to glass half full because 2015 was one of the most like happiest nights of my life when they beat Wisconsin. When everybody was rooting for the white guys on Wisconsin. Frank the
refs completely called a different game that second half. That's bullshit. So that game was bullshit.
It is exhausting being on my side and having to do all that texting for like 2.5 hours. Not even 2.5 hours, but like 2 consecutive days of just all of that shit. So I don't have to go through that again, which will be nice.
Oh, boo-hoo. Ralph had to text a lot. Oh, his life's so hard.
I played 5 basketball games in 7 hours yesterday, and your lazy ass couldn't come fucking home for Easter to play in that same exact tournament, which you had an opportunity to do. So why don't you just go fuck yourself, buddy? All right? I'm sorer than a motherfucker. I ate 12 Advil last night. 12 Advil.
To feel that's not. Don't do that again. All right, well. Anything else?
Now I'm just mad at Turner again. I started this pod mad at both of you. I like got over it, and I'm just
made great progress.
And it's all for nothing. I need to go get like Chipotle or something. I'm just hungry and angry right now.
That's what I'm about to do. There, bro. You're chilling.
I'm not, dude. Bro, I'm not chilling.
The chicken al pastor is back.
I like got over it.
That's what I'm getting.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. I'm sorry if my attitude and energy was bad. Fuck you, Mike. Yeah.
All glory to DJ Burns, man.
I will be rooting for them. I mean, we'll preview the games later this week, but I will be rooting heavily for them againts Purdue because I do hate Purdue. I can't stand Purdue.
Still will I, baby.
Shout out Dane Danger.
Two more.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. We'll see you on the other side. Peace out.
I'm loving the pop off.